Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So it's bright and early, mind, body, and soul, daily discipline. This is how we get through. Let's talk about death. It's kind of a scary conversation for most people, and I like to talk about it periodically. I like to think about it. Don't make your deathbed the first time that you think about death. It's too late then. You know, if you're interested in this topic, there's a lot online on YouTube that you can look into as far as philosophy and all that shit. But the person that I think that talks about death in the best way, in the most intellectual way, in the easiest way to listen to without becoming emotional, is Alan Watts. So type into Google sometime when you have some free time, Alan Watts on death, and he has one really amazing famous talk that's probably an hour long that he gave back in the 60s. But there are lots of other clips, because this guy had a career for 50 years. One of the things that Alan Watts talks about when he talks about death is obviously this notion of the fear of death. And everybody who talks about death has to talk about that, because we don't really know what death is. We can't talk about the experience like you talk about going to the doctor. Talk about getting a shot, and you can explain how it felt going in, and you know that when you turned your head, and you can explain the whole experience. The soreness afterwards. But death, we have these near-death experiences, which is scientifically been kind of explained away. You go into a dreamlike state after you die, but only for a period of time, and that period of time may feel longer to you, but it could be only a few minutes, but you may think that it's longer. Just like when you dream, you only dream for short periods of time, although you may think that you had this dream that went on for a lifetime. I've had those. You go through that right after you die. Everybody has their own little unique experience, and what you want to have happen in death, or maybe even what you don't want to have happen, but what you focus on a lot as far as death, what you believe as far as your after life experience, will most likely play itself out in fantasy during that post-death dreamlike window. And then there's a point after a minute or two when you're just dead. There's no more brain activity. Your brain stops playing those dreams, and that's it. And we don't know what's beyond that. Is it lights out? That's what nihilists believe. But it's just lights out. I used to feel really uneasy about that idea, and didn't like when other people believed it. You know how it's weird how sometimes we don't want other people to believe what they believe in? Like, why would I give a fuck what you believe after you die? But I have people in my family that would talk about that, and you know, why wouldn't you want to go to heaven? They just don't believe in it. Only Christians believe in heaven. I mean, there may be other religions that believe like in a utopia, like Valhalla. My dad used to tell me that there's no such thing as a utopia. Not in heaven or not on earth. There is no such thing as a utopia. That's a fantasy. Fantasy of the weak. It was a fantasy created by rabbits, not by wolves. Who do you want to be? You want to be a rabbit or a wolf? How do you want to navigate? Death really is a frightening concept because of how mysterious it is. We get awfully narcissistic when we talk about death. Our own death is okay. Most people are okay with their own death, with thinking about, well, when I die, I won't be here anymore. It'll be kind of like before I was born, I guess. I'll just be, who knows, whatever it is, I've had a good run. I know lots of people that way. I'm kind of like that. Non-attached to life. But when I think about others' deaths, people in my inner circle, my brother, my mother, people like that, it can be very upsetting, because that's where the narcissism comes in, because they're not here anymore. It's really funny though, because the Christians, I'm not picking on Christians, we can pick on Vikings too with Valhalla, but Christians particularly, when we live in a Christian country, 80-something% Christian, they believe in a particular utopian fantasy of afterlife that is very elaborate and has been described, angels and clouds and everything is beautiful, and there's no sickness, there's no pain, there's no suffering, it's just great. Everyone's taken care of. It's like this wonderful socialist utopian dream. All the dogs that you used to own are there. Your ex-girlfriend that you liked, not the one you didn't like, but the one that you miss. Everybody is there. But then Christians go to a funeral. They cry and moan and wail and pass out on the coffin. And if you ever go to an old school funeral, you see these old women dressed in black, screaming and wailing and crying. They believe in heaven. They believe that their loved one is now in heaven, and they're just like, ah! It's funny to me. It's funny. Because why would you be so upset that someone dies if you believed they went to heaven? This life sucks, man. We suffer in this life. Everybody does. And then you get this wonderful dream vacation for eternity at some fancy resort. And everybody's all upset when a motherfucker gets to go there. I wish he was still alive. I wish he was still alive. That person that you are mourning for, who's up in heaven, is sitting there listening to that crap like, shut up. I want to stay here. This is great. Life sucks. Maybe we should look at death differently. If you believe that it's such a utopia, if there's such a great release, if death is a reunion with God or with an energy, a universal energy, there's all these various beliefs about death. Most of them are fantastic and great, joyous, give us something to look forward to. If you believe that, why be so upset going up to death? Because your family member or loved one won't be with you anymore? That's narcissism. That just means that you want them for survival. You can't survive alone. I mean, I'm not saying that we should want our friends and family and loved ones we should want them to die. My grandfather's 98. I would love for him to live another 10 years. I don't know if it's possible. But he's getting towards the end of his life, and I'm not scared for his passing. Sure, everybody will miss him, but you get over that. Any loss that you go through, you get over. It doesn't mean you stop honoring people because you've gotten over it. It doesn't mean that you love them less because you're happy while they're gone. I've had a lot of friends die. And it used to really fuck me up, because I was stuck in a state of mourning for each one of them and couldn't move past it. Almost didn't want to move past it, because I felt like my mourning, my sadness was honoring them. And without that honor, well, what kind of piece of shit am I? If I don't tear up every time I mention one of my homeboys' names, every time I tell that one story about Marcus getting shot on New Year's Eve, I'm supposed to cry, right? Or else I'm not honoring them properly. Marcus had a torturous life, and he died at 18 or 20 years old. And now maybe he's in heaven, and I'm still crying about that. This guy's sitting up in the ultimate resort, right? This is the fantasy, right? Why would I be sad about it? Maybe we need to change how we celebrate death. Instead of these sorrowful funerals, everybody dresses in black, to celebrate, have a party. Let's all get drunk. I mean, I don't drink, but you guys can. Let's all, have a big bash. Be like a festival. Imagine if every time someone died, we threw a block party. We have to get over our fear of death. One of the ways that I've done that is to change my outlook on a couple things, on attachment to others, and realize that everything is temporary and that each moment is all there is. So live in the moment with that person. You can't sit there and worry about the future. Are they going to leave me tomorrow? Are they going to be here later? All that is anxiety about a fantasy, about a future that hasn't happened, about something that's just in your head. I hate to do that to myself. Instead of worrying about when are you going to leave me, or if you're going to be here tomorrow, and what will I do when you're gone, I can sit here and be like, wow, you're here right now. Thank God you're here right now. Let's enjoy this right here, right now. Whatever happens tomorrow, I promise I can handle it. Don't be afraid of death. Don't be afraid of anything. It's all food for thought. Thanks for watching.